Okay, everyone. If you, based on my instructions in Google Classroom, are participating in the contaminated clothing experiment, this is for you. Read the instructions closely in Google Classroom to make sure you're supposed to be doing this one. So, you are going to read this 4-minute section about the contaminated clothing experiment. The kind of things that you should maybe think about is the experiment. How was it set up? What were the steps? What were the volunteers going to do? So, as you think about that, make sure you answer what is the theory being tested, and you need to explain your building's experiment. But while doing that, you need to make sure you use key words that are scientific in nature and connected to this experiment. Your list is right here. Words like bacteria, contamination, germs, hypothesis, infected, transmission, and yellow fever. Use at least 3 of those, and I want to see those bolded when you write it. So that means you highlight it. If you wrote the word bacteria, you would highlight it and then make it bold so that when I read it, I can see what you wrote. After you do that, you're going to answer, did any volunteer become infected with yellow fever during this experiment? In one sentence, you need to summarize the results of the experiment. One sentence can be, who participated? What did they do? What were the results? And if you answer those 3 questions, who was it? What did they do? And what were the results? You will have your summary. On card 2, remember your if-then statements and how to explain them. Your if-then statement is like your hypothesis. If this happens, then this is the result I expect to happen. And then your results. You explain what actually happened, and therefore your scientists will conclude that your theory is either true or false. So your results are like a reverse of your hypothesis with the actual results and how that shapes your understanding of the theory. So you are going to summarize the findings of your experiment, agree on the consensus, you're going to agree on the reliability of the experiment. So how reliable was the experiment? Did it include things it needed to include? Did it include things it didn't need to include? Was this part necessary and this part unnecessary? You are going to think about any new evidence, and you can add it in the evidence app. Make sure that your summary relies on the details of the experiment without any opinions or judgments. You don't get to say good or bad. It is what do the details of the experiment say and what do the results say. Science is about what you can measure while it's happening and then understanding those results. It's not good or bad. It's what is happening and what do the results tell us. So you're doing this independently. You need to have your summary of your experiment. So, what did you learn? Make sure your summary relies on the details, like I said. In your evidence app, you're going to then evaluate the details or the the strength of those pieces of evidence from the experiment. Read this. It's 4 minutes. If you need to reread it, that's fine. If you need to reread it, that's fine too. Summarize your findings with your if-then statement. So if this happens, then I expect this to happen. My results, this happened, which means my theory is now this. And this is the theory about how yellow fever is spread. How strong is the evidence produced from this experiment? Evaluate that and then launch your evidence app. And then you're going to move on to the discussion.